What's up, guys? My name is DJ Swivel, and on this week's episode of Story Time, I'm going to be telling you the story of how Drew from the Chainsmokers and I almost became the intro for Fergie's last album. But before we get started, make sure you like, subscribe, comment, hit the notification bell, do what you gotta do. Run the intro. DJ Swivel, DJ Swivel, don't you tell my story, please. DJ Swivel, DJ Swivel, don't make it cheese. All right, so where do I begin? This story happened around, it would have been mid-December 2016. I remember this because it was around my birthday and we were in New York. I remember flying, I think it was a couple days before my birthday, to New York. And I went out to New York because I think the Chainsmokers were working on something in New York at the time. And we needed to get some singles ready for their first album, Memories Do Not Open. And the first single we knew was going to be a song called Paris. And so I flew to New York to finish the production on Paris with the guys. So we are at Jungle City Studios in New York on the bottom floor. And just for context, there's two studios on that bottom floor. And there's like a north studio and a south studio. And so I fly out to New York, get a little bit of rest, and then I go and meet the guys at the studio. And so we started working on Paris. We were cutting Drew's vocals. We invited Emily Warren, who is also in New York, to come in and sing some background vocals, finish the production, and also finish the mix. We did the whole thing over 2 days. And the second day, as we were kind of wrapping up a lot of the work, we were, the year was coming to a close. The single felt really good. So we were having a few drinks in the studio and kind of relaxing a little bit because all the heavy lifting was already done. So we're having a few drinks, wrapping up all the last little edits. At the time, I believe we were all kind of on a tequila tip. So having a little tequila. And we find out that in the studio that was next door on the same floor was Fergie. And I guess Fergie was finishing her album. I don't recall what it was called, but she was wrapping up and she found out that we were in the other room. And so she sent an assistant to ask if, we'd want to connect. And so I think Drew went and said hello to her. We still had a little bit more work to do. So he went and said hello and then came back into the studio. And I guess she had invited us to come listen to her record later on. So he came back, we finished up what we needed to do, and maybe a couple hours later, we were wrapped up. And so we said, all right, let's go say hi to Fergie. And so Drew and I went into the other studio, said hello, and she played us some music, and we were just talking, and we were just having a fun time, just meeting another artist and just enjoying ourselves. But at the time, we had kind of wrapped up everything we needed to do. At this point, we were several drinks in, so we were a little toasty, I'll call it. And midway through playing us her record, she asked us if we would record the intro to her album. Now, I got to be honest, I was a little confused because I was there, recording and producing the vocal on Paris. So I had already finished that. She had her own engineer there, so I wasn't quite sure what she meant. And she said, why don't you just jump in the booth and just say whatever you want to say, and that'll be the intro to the album. And I'm kind of looking at Drew like, really? Is that the plan? There was no setup or anything, but we were game. We were having a good time. We were already a few drinks in and like I said, just enjoying ourselves. So we said, sure, we'll go in there. And so we both go in the booth and they get like the track. I can't remember if there was like a little instrumental underneath it or if they were just recording and we were talking. I think they actually were just recording and we were just meant to talk. So we're kind of looking at one another a little quiet, like, what are we doing? What are we supposed to do? And then just out of nowhere, Drew kind of just starts running with it and says, yo, look who it is. It's Fergie from the Black Eyed Peas. Like almost whispering it to me. And so I'm like, I guess taking his cue, like, okay, I guess I'm supposed to build on that. So I'm like, oh man, I've been listening to her forever. She's like, nah. And sorry. And then Drew goes, nah, I've been listening to her for like so long, like since like early Black Eyed Peas days. And I said, yeah, but I've been listening to her since, you know, Wild Orchid days. For context, Wild Orchid was a band she was in before the Black Eyed Peas. And don't ask why I know that, but I do, because I remember they used to perform in Toronto at a theme park at Canada's Wonderland for anybody from Toronto. So we just start having this like hilarious kind of drunk banter back and forth with her laughing her ass off, you know, through the glass in the control room with her engineer. She's just cracking up laughing, seems to think whatever we're saying is funny. And so we sort of wrap it up, finish our little, it was probably about a minute long, maybe 45 seconds long of just this like back and forth banter about Fergie, playing these like super fans, if you will. And so we come out and she's just dying laughing like, that was so amazing, that was incredible, blah, blah, blah. And we're kind of looking to ourselves like, we don't know what we just did. So fast forward, you know, I guess she's going to use it on the album, but at some point you need to like clear vocals and clear all that stuff. So, you know, a few months go by and I didn't hear anything about it. So I figure, oh, she probably just scrapped it and was just having a good time. Like, trust me, there was nothing like really genius that we said. It was just two guys who were a little too drunk, just basically talking crap. But then a few months into 2017, maybe it might have even been 6 months later, honestly, I get an email from her label asking to clear my vocals for the intro because they're going to use it for the intro to her album. And for me personally, you know, I don't really care. So I was just like, yeah, whatever, go ahead, enjoy. Not really realizing kind of what I was doing or not really caring. And then, of course, they went and asked Drew to clear his vocals. And, you know, I guess they listened to it and were like, there's no way we can clear this. Like, you sound crazy. And so they didn't clear it. So it didn't actually become the intro to Fergie's album. But we did record it. It does exist. I wonder if they even emailed it to me. Maybe I can look for it. But kind of a hilarious moment. And there isn't really a lesson to this story. It's just one of those weird music stories that, you know, when you work in the same studios and you're working with artists and you're in, you know, a lot of these studios are fairly expensive. So you typically find mostly like a lot of well-known or at least signed artists who have a budget behind them. Every once in a while, you'll see some independent artists in them. But some of the bigger studios really just, their bread and butter is major label artists. So, and Jungle City is no different. And so this is just one of those like really interesting stories where you run into an artist that maybe you know of or you've never met, and you kind of, you know, you can kind of create something new. So just, you know, even for context, years ago when I was working with Fabulous, I remember we were in one room and Swiss Beats was just walking down to his studio down the hall, and he walked by and he heard a beat and he just banged on the door. And so we let him in, and then he became a feature to, what was the song called? It was produced by Just Blaze. It was the second single on From Nothing to Something. I forget what it was, but it had these like string arrangements. You guys can go look it up. It's on that album for sure, and Swiss Beats is on it. So anyways, these sorts of things happen all the time. There isn't really much of a lesson, just a funny little story. So that's story time for the week. I'm DJ Swivel. I'll see you next time. Peace.